Good afternoon and welcome to this new edition of a feature we're calling Market Talk, covering some of the stories and features that we've been addressing this week on Catering Insight and Foodservice Equipment Journal. My name's Andrew Seymour, I'm the Editorial Director of FEJ. Delighted to be joined by Claire Nichols, Editor of Catering Insight, and also our guests this week, which Paul Anderson, Managing Director of Myco UK, and Jack Sharkey, Managing Director of Vision Commercial Kitchens. Thank you very much for being with us. We're all in different parts of the country at the moment, but good to see there's some sunshine behind Jack, certainly, so hopefully that's spreading around the country. Paul, we wanted to start off with you, really. We've covered this week the story that you've extended warranty for 2 months with customers operating in the hospital, NHS and care sectors. It'd be great to get some of your insight really into the decision behind that and the motivation behind that kind of gesture.
Okay, well, it's a great question. Obviously, everybody's passionate behind our healthcare at the moment and NHS, and all the frontline workers that are putting themselves at risk. And obviously, as a business, I mean, 80–90% of our business has now been predominantly closed because the hospitality market has been shut down for all the right reasons. But we are still quite active in the care sector. And we just sort of looked at the amount of equipment that we've got out in the marketplace and thought it would be a nice thing to do just to give them a bit of added benefit during this time. That obviously we will try and, how best can we help do that at this time? So we felt it was a nice gesture to offer an extended period of warranty to anybody in that sector at this given time. So you could say, was there a whole, was there a massive amount of thought gone into it? It was just a simple process, really. It was a nice thing to do, and we felt it was the right thing to do. And needless to say, I think we'll probably have to look at other things that we need to do. And then that's what we've done, and it seems to have worked. People that have got the equipment can pick up the code and reference the April 2020, and it goes through to our service department, and it's logged accordingly, and the additional warranty is given.
Jack, does that help dealers as well?
Yeah, I mean,
the gesture.
It's having extended warranties or additional warranties is always a huge benefit. Now, I know some of the dealer market don't necessarily pass that on to the customer, but we've always been a big believer, and that's where the added value comes in, and that's where the partnership comes in with the manufacturers and the brands, and being able to offer that out to the clients. They do see real value in that added warranty.
And for you, Paul, have you found that has that been well received by the customers at the moment? Because I presume this is the time when their kitchen equipment is under enormous pressure in those particular sectors.
Yeah, we've had some really nice responses back. I mean, the warranty is applicable forever where the route of sale was. So as Jack said, if it goes through a dealer, then obviously that's a great route for that particular dealer because it's on top of their warranty that's been given. It has actually been met very favourably. Equipment is particularly being thumped in a number of places because of the intakes and the amount of patients that are going into hospitals. So it has been received very well. Yeah, we've certainly had no negative comments on it.
Right. Okay. And for you at the moment, you've obviously got a very large service team here in the UK. What's the situation with that? What percentage of the team are able to work at the moment?
Out of about 104 staff, 40 are on furlough. That leaves us, on an engineer side, we've got 30 out in the field. It's enormously difficult to say, let's get rid of everybody in the north of England, because you just don't know where the calls are coming in. So, shipping an engineer from London up to Glasgow would be impractical. So we try and cover every pocket of the United Kingdom so we can respond. But although we haven't got the volume of engineers that we did have at the beginning, we had about 52. Because the business is quieter, we can still provide fast response to frontline care and others that happen to be open. So we're still meeting our targets, our responses, our first-time fixes, and it's working very well. We still have administration, we have finance. The sales guys are predominantly at home, probably enjoying their views in the gardens, much like a lot of others. But we still are operational. We're providing a business to the marketplace that happens to be open.
Okay.
Yeah, because just kind of following on that theme, Jack, when I spoke to you via email a few weeks ago, you said the Vision had put in place quite a good disaster management plan. So could you just talk us through that a little bit, and how you may have been preparing for something not on this scale, but any kind of disaster in the past?
Well, I mean, it goes back probably about 6 or 7 years ago, where we were hacked and our servers were kind of put into ransom mode. So off the back of that, we kind of learned a lot of lessons. So we put a huge amount of security into place in terms of our servers. We started to move everything onto the cloud, started to engage much more with things like Microsoft Teams in terms of being able to do video conferencing, using Microsoft SharePoint. So lots of stuff like that we kind of implemented and put in place. And it was always about what happens, what happens if, you know, an airplane falls down in the building, can we recover everything, you know, where's all the data sitting? So we had a lot of that stuff in place. Well, as we saw the development of the COVID-19 issue starting to develop, we started to look around at what other places in the world were doing. And we started to put a lot of plans in place. So we'd already started to get up all our computers for all our office workers in terms of how that was going to have to, if they had to go home to work. And the minute we kind of started to look at this was starting to get much more serious, we sent anybody that could work from home without any major impact, like our design team, we put them to home working. What we then had to do, we moved into then a phase 2 of our planning for COVID-19, where it was reorganising the offices. So we had social distancing going on, but that obviously very quickly moved then into the lockdown, and we very quickly then had to literally take everybody out and put them to home working. Business literally dropped off a cliff. So as a result of that, we ended up, you know, like many businesses, we ended up furloughing about 80 of our staff. But we already had a plan in place in terms of what that was going to look like. And for business continuity, we kept a skeleton team in place in terms of each of the departments, from the service team to the admin team to the design team. And unfortunately, I'm picking up the sales role at the moment. So yeah. So and it's about how people be able to communicate. and also about how they communicate. You know, what happens if a telephone call comes into the office? Who do they ring? So we had all that in place in terms of managing and triaging those calls, and then being able to feed them out to the relevant people and relevant people within the relevant teams. So, say, going back 5 or 6 years, a lot of that lessons were learned from then about how we could recover very quickly, how we could manage very quickly remotely. We looked at it as an airplane dropping on the building. What happened then? You know, but it's a similar sort of scenario. We just kind of like be able to work from home remotely and have a team in place about how we would operate. So it very easily for us to implement. We had to make some adjustments, say, because of the COVID-19, but apart from that, everything else was kind of, the plans were already there.
Yeah, and we recently reported on your latest financial results as well. And in that report, it said that you guys have developed a new service model, and you've already won a 5-year contract with a major client. So could you just take us through what that service model is and how that will hopefully benefit you as we come out of this crisis at some point?
Sure. I mean, we've always offered service. Service has always been part of our overall offering. But what we started to look at over the last 12, 18 months was service as much more of a potential revenue stream and much more of an enhancement to the services that we're offering to our customer. And service for me, and after sales service in particular, it's every single call is a complaint. So you've got to be able to deal with it as effectively and as efficiently as you can. Because as far as they're concerned, that piece of equipment is broken and it's down. So we kind of started to look at how we can develop service and started engaging with our clients in terms of what they're looking for. And it's very much about taking a long-term view and a long-term approach and getting the clients buy into that long-term view and that long-term approach. What we've done isn't really, it's not radical change. It's radical to, it's radical to what we're offering our clients, but it's not really radical to what the market should be doing and what the market does do. All we've done is really packaged it all up together and given the client as as a comprehensive package, everything that they've been looking at. And it's about being focused, it's about being flexible, and it's about getting feedback from the client in terms of where you need to improve. And the sort of things we're doing at the minute, though, is and in particular with the client where we've just picked up a 5-year contract with, we've kind of gone out to their estate, we've done a complete survey of their estate, we've condition reported. A lot of this isn't new, people are doing this, all we've done is package it all together. We do a condition report, we do a approximate capital replacement, and we give them an age life expectancy on that piece of equipment, and then put it as a comprehensive report back to them so they can see what their potential capital spend is going to be in year, to 2021, 2022, 2023. So they've actually now got a much more focused budget. And part and parcel of that then is then putting into place planned preventative maintenance supported with the reactive, and then putting the focus on the right appliances and the focus on the right sites where the high usage sites need more planned preventative maintenance and need more focus, and the less volume sites don't need quite the same. So it's taken a much more tailored approach to their estate. And then really just sitting down with them and looking at that feedback on a regular basis. So sitting down with them once a month, once a quarter, and getting genuine feedback from their managers, their operators, what works, what doesn't work, what do we need to tweak, how do we tweak it, so we can continually improve that level of service that they're getting. So that's kind of what we've done, and we've packaged all that up together into a nice wrapped up package with a little bow on the top of it, and given that back to the client with a nice report that kind of consolidates everything into one. And I think that's really going to stand us in good stead, because as we come out of this COVID-19 crisis, people are going to be looking at service. They're going to need to get more out of their asset than they've ever had before. So I think capital replacement is going to be under pressure. And capital expenditure is going to be under pressure. So people are going to want to get more out of their equipment. They're going to need to get more out of their asset. And we're almost going to go back to the old, the austerity days of 2010, 2011, 2012, where we're going to have to get the maximum use out of that equipment before we get into a capital replacement. So I think the service offer is going to stand us in good stead. I think we've still got lots of other things we need to be doing as well, but I think it'll really stand us in good stead as we start to come out of this. Yeah. Hopefully that gives you kind of a bit of an overview.
Paul, does that chime with what you're seeing at the moment from a manufacturer's perspective as well?
Yeah, I think Jack's 100% right. I mean, people are going to be looking at their available cash and capex and opex very, very closely when we come out of this. And, they are going to want to repair things and keep things going for a lot longer. So service is very, very much key. Really, really very much key. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, we're trying to help people as well by trying to look after their equipment when it's actually shut down. Yeah. There's other factors that you can offer. We're going to be, whenever we decide to be open up again in this industry, there's going to be calls saying, this dishwasher smells horrible. Well, probably because you haven't drained it down and it's been full of stagnant water for about 6 weeks. I mean, we will be dealing with every type of scenario. But it is key to have great service and support to prolong a piece of equipment. And I think Jack's absolutely right. I don't think there will be a normal that we've had before. It'll be a new normal.
So I was going to say, I think, a big part of that as well is the people who take that first call and triaging that call and understanding what the problem is. And do you know what? If you can fix the problem over the phone, fix the problem over the phone. Because, there are so many things that can be fixed on the phone. You're surprising the number of calls you get that you could solve it over the phone. Mm-hmm. So it's having the team that are taking that call, that are trained and understand and can do a triage initially. If they can't, move it over to somebody who could potentially do a triage on it and then log a service call. You're feeding the information back to the engineer much more effectively. And if you can get that problem solved over the phone and the piece of equipment's working again, you've got a happy client straight away, because he's not waiting 2 hours, 3 hours, 24 hours to get that problem fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul, I was just wondering what your kind of reaction was to Jack's development of the service side of things. Is that something that you feel more dealers should be doing, or does it kind of tread on your toes a little bit because you guys have got such a comprehensive service offering anyway?
We have a comprehensive service package, but for our equipment only. So, you know, we work alongside great companies like Jack, and we sort of marriage the two together, and it works extremely well. I think if a lot of businesses took Jack's view, they could be in a better position. Who knows? But every business is different. They're run differently for various reasons. I think service is absolutely key. I think if you supply a product and you can offer an additional service and back it up for the lifespan of the product, you have got a winning formula. How you do that is individual. People tailor it to their own needs. You know, our service is different to others. We find ours works extremely well. I wholeheartedly agree. I think if you've got a system that works, and then Jack's obviously found something that works good for him and they've adapted it, fantastic.
Paul, just coming into the present time and going back to the warranty issue and the service issue, you obviously have a lot of engineers at the moment that are going into hospital sites. How much has their daily practice had to change in terms of, you know, the safety measures and sort of going into these sites that are essentially, you know, locked out to the public?
Well, we've taken every precaution possible in terms of PPE, and I wouldn't say we got it right absolutely spot on at the beginning. I don't think anybody did. And, you know, getting hold of these FFP or N95 masks is rare, you know, because they should be prioritized for NHS. But I think I ordered £3,000 worth of sanitizers within the first 2 days of lockdown, or prior to that. So every member of staff in the office had 2 containers, pump containers, 99.99% effective, loads of bacterial wipes, refills of fluid so they can be refilled. There's 600 ml containers going out to each engineer when they're arriving, but they've got others in the meantime. They've got masks, they've got gloves. We practice, where possible, you know, social distancing, which is not that easy to do when you're trying to put a rack machine together, I can tell you. It's a little bit difficult to do. But wherever possible, we do. And actually, in this current time, most of the areas are actually quite empty. And they're also respecting the fact of external staff coming on their site. So, you know, we follow a best practice procedure. It normally marries up with the own site's best practice procedure, and the two seem to work hand in hand. And there's a whole amount of respect for anybody going onto a site and adhering to it from both sides. So I have to say, touch wood, we haven't had anybody suffering from COVID-19 at all. We've had a few people we've had to sort of quarantine because they've been in touch through a colleague, through someone else, but they're now all back at work. So touch wood, at the moment, we haven't exposed anybody to any threats. We've kept them as safe as possible. We have regular meetings every week. I go in and we got a big boardroom, but we've only got 5 people in it because we're 3 meters apart. You know, we follow all the rules from there, and we try and ensure on a regular basis we follow and do the best things. And so far it seems to be okay. But, you know, you've got to instill confidence in the engineers as well. I mean, they're going into areas that they don't feel confident either. You know, going into a hospital at the moment can be quite a scary thought, you know, for a lot of people. And I think we handle it very well. And the 30 engineers that we've got still working, they're doing a great job. Yeah.
Excellent. Likewise, Jack, have you got staff out there that are going to site either to install, inspect, service? How are you taking extra measures with them?
We've got very little service work coming in at the moment, and we're kind of just looking at service in terms of where is it necessary, and is it there in terms of the frontline workers. If it's not necessary, then we're kind of just pushing back up with the clients. But we've got very, very little service work in actual fact coming through, because a lot of our service orientated work was in the hospitality sector, which is clearly is predominantly shut down at the moment. Yes, we've got some sites still operational, construction sites still operational. And there's been some really good guidance from Build UK in conjunction with the Construction Leadership Council, put out standard site operating procedures on how construction sites should look and how they should operate. And we've been very good at communicating that back out to our install teams, whether that be from fabrication, countering or installers. And then they've obviously been looking at the PPE that needs to be in place. But the critical piece of this is the construction sites management team, making sure that they're operating the sites in conjunction with the standard site operating procedures issued by the Construction Leadership Council. But I have to say, so far, so good. Everybody's been adhering to that. Productivity, clearly, is down. We're not getting the same productivity and efficiency of people working on site. You know, and that's the price we've got to pay for social distancing and keeping people safe. You know, that's perfectly fine by me. So yeah, we've got people out and about on sites, but that's on the installation side. We're not really undertaking new site surveys at the moment because nobody's really looking for anything to be done, and they're kind of waiting for lockdown to kind of ease up before we have to do any of that. Everything's been done by video conferencing, and even down to if we need to do a site survey, clients are actually doing a walk around with a telephone and showing us around the site so we get an understanding of what's going on. So yeah, very limited, just down to installations and service work.
Yeah. Jack, you spoke earlier on about business continuity and the importance of that. Obviously, coming out of this period now, kind of business planning and future planning becomes important. Well, I just wondered how both of you were dealing with that. Is it almost impossible to plan for the future, given nobody really knows what the end of this is going to look like?
I'll start. We have management meeting every other day, and we're looking at different scenarios every single day. I'm looking at reforecasting. Every week we're reforecasting the sales line. Every other day we're sitting down going, what if, what happens if this happens? What can we do if that happens? So it's constantly under review. I don't think you can make any hard decisions right now. I think what you can do is put some contingency plans in place and put a lot of scenario planning in place on what ifs, so that you've got a plan of action and that you can implement once you know what's happening. I think the key to it is about being flexible and being agile and being able to move with what's happening in the market or what guidance we're going to get. And that's as much as I think you can do at the minute, is have those different options and different plans in place.
Yeah. Paul, is that a similar situation for you?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, no one's got a crystal ball, have they?
It's a good sign we're hearing some of the restaurants beginning to open partially, whereas, a week ago that really wasn't the case at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're getting clever very quickly as well. I mean, for example, Hakkasan, they were one of the first that we know of in London to close pretty quick. And then they opened up one recently to do takeaways. It's so successful, they've opened another. So you've got to adapt in this environment. There's only so much you can adapt to, but if you've got a route where you can still keep business going, then why wouldn't you do it? But I think coming out of this, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be a negative because I love to see the positive on all the things, but it's going to be difficult, and I don't think we're going to come out of it just yet. I think it will be a while. I personally think it will probably be about mid-June, if I'm honest with you, because Boris was mentioning last night there was 5 key factors that have to be hit before they'll consider anything, and they're quite strict. Those 5 factors, they're really super strict, and 26,000 deaths is a big number. So I think public health does come before economy. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough, but I think if we can ride through it and you're strong, then you'll be seen as a good ally to others when you come out of it. And we want to hold on to as many people as we can in terms of partners and accounts. I don't think every business will survive, unfortunately, but there'll be enough that will.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for joining Claire and I on this edition of Market Talk. Really fascinating to get an insight into how you're dealing with this situation at the moment, and we obviously wish you the very best of luck moving forward, and hopefully see you face to face out in the market again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.